Yellowstone supervolcano warnings should trigger the mother of all evacuations. We're talking about a super eruption, of course. Yellowstone volcano's eerie warning signs should signal the mother of all eruptions were pinpointed by scientists. As we know, Yellowstone supervolcano is one of the 21 some odd supervolcanoes of the Earth. Even more have been found lately. For example, one over Quebec, Montreal. One under, of course, the eruption of the mantle plume of ancient Canary Islands. Now, located in Wyoming, Yellowstone is one of the 20-plus supervolcanoes of our Earth, a volcano that has had an eruption with a volcanic explosivity index of 8. It's erupted 3 times in the past 2.1 million years, and with the most recent at least 1,000 times bigger than Mount St. Helens eruption that devastated America in 1980. That was a double eruption 630,000 years ago. And 70,000 years ago, Yellowstone had a lava eruption and 80 eruptions since then. Now, each of the last 3 eruptions formed calderas. They're large cauldron-like hollows, indentations in the earth that formed above the emptying of the magma chambers. Volcanoes sometimes empty their magma stores so quickly that the overlying land collapses into the empty magma chamber, and that forms a depression called a caldera. The Yellowstone hotspot, there's a mantle plume running under there, which lies beneath the surface, is believed to have produced at least a dozen super eruptions in the past 16.5 million years, prompting intense research at this beautiful, picturesque national park. It's celebrating its 150th year. Scientists continue to closely monitor Yellowstone for signs that it is prepared to erupt, but it's widely accepted that any eruption in the next 10,000 years is extremely not likely. It has not stopped field workers studying the caldera, with some of their work explored during the Naked Science documentary called Supervolcano. In the spring of 2003, scientists set to work after a series of strange events occurred. The geysers were bursting back into life, new cracks in the ground were appearing, and satellite pictures revealed changes were happening beneath the surface, even new areas that were very hot. As we know, Yellowstone has 60% of the world's geysers and over 10,000 hydrothermal areas. Now, these new hydrothermal areas were in the area of northwest of the caldera towards Montana, Idaho, towards Hebgen Lake. Now, the documentary narrator explained that all volcanoes give out warning signs when they are prepared to erupt, and at Yellowstone, this would trigger the mother of all evacuations, quote unquote. He said the first sign of a Yellowstone eruption would probably be the ground rising, the inflation of the ground, and this is happening around Hebgen Lake, as we know. Just before Mount St. Helens erupted, the mountain bulged, growing 5 feet a day. A similar kind of uplift would be likely at Yellowstone. As magma deep below the surface of the earth rises, it splits the rocks above it. It cracks the rocks above it. In Yellowstone, it would probably lift the whole caldera, an area the size of Houston and Dallas, 10 feet or more into the air. And he said weeks or even months before Yellowstone super eruption, these warning signs would trigger the mother of all evacuations. The area 60 miles around the volcano would become a hazard zone. Officials would place an alert on surrounding region up to 200 miles, readying people for a violent eruption. We're talking about a super eruption here. And now, as people evacuate the area, geologists would look out for new warning signs that would tell them an eruption is imminent. Professor Bill McGuire, one of the world's leading volcanologists, told the documentary that swarms of earthquakes would be seen as fresh magma moves into the system and breaks the rock above it. Such earthquakes produce distinctive waveforms on seismographs as a crack of rock fracturing creates a sharp rise that fades quickly. And long before an eruption, the hazard zone and surrounding area would be hit by these earthquakes. And just before the eruption, the signal produced by the earthquakes would give way to the very different signal, a long, continuous vibration. Professor McGuire explained, now, when magma has opened a space for itself, it will start to move through that, And as it moves through that fairly rapidly, it will start to vibrate the walls of the crack or the conduit, and that will give you a short rumbling signal, he said. It's called a harmonic tremor. It sounds like the vibrating of a large organ pipe and is the final warning sign before the eruption. Scientists and organizations spent decades attempting to find solutions that might stop any future Yellowstone eruption. NASA speculated the possibility of increasing the amount of water inside the volcano, aiming to extract heat from it and also reduce the risk of pressure building up. Ultimately, this was considered both far too difficult and too risky. Some have suggested Yellowstone is due an eruption, an apparent cycle of an eruption every 275,000 years, which means that there is still about 100,000 years left to go if you go by that type of a formula. So the United States Geological Survey said such speculation is meaningless since volcanic systems that have a super eruption typically do not have evenly spaced eruptions. Likewise, if Yellowstone erupts again, there are no guarantees that it will be a large eruption. The most recent, as we said, lava flow occurred at Yellowstone 70,000 years ago, with a more violent eruption 174,000 years ago. So this is on Express UK by Charlie Pittock, Sizemore, Berkeley. Let's just take a look at some of the earthquakes around there. These were the latest around Stanley, Idaho. This is the area of where that a couple of years ago we had that 6.5 magnitude earthquake. Let's take a look at the smaller earthquakes under 2.5 magnitude. Okay, this is Stanley, Idaho. You can see a swarm there. And this is the area of, we even had activity around Salt Lake. We know that Salt Lake has about, 11 or 12 volcanoes south of the lake. It's a volcanic field. We know that the mantle plume comes from Baja California. It's like a Y-shaped. The western part goes under San Andreas Fault and the Walker Lane Fault system that has the high-threat volcanoes. And then it makes this type of a swing through Nevada and into Utah, around Salt Lake, and into this area here, Yellowstone, and then makes a western turn under Idaho. So that is a type of number 7, as you can see here. Okay, and this is the mantle plume that comes from Baja California under Yellowstone. So yeah, we do have earthquakes here as well. They're small, but there is activity. There's about 3,000 earthquakes a year in the Yellowstone caldera area. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.